Did you watch Anurag Kashyap's Raman Raghav and thought, this is some insane level of movie? Well, let me just tell you, the real life Raman Raghav was way more haunted. Hi, I'm Shaini, and I'll tell you mysteries of the crime world while sketching, so the stories feels a little less traumatizing, and we can still show respect to the victims and their families. To understand the fear of Raman Raghav or India's Jack the Ripper created, we have to go back to 1960s Bombay, a city of glamour, money, fame. But what about the other side? Well, it was exploding with people, poverty, and entire families living on pavement. In those dark corners, a predator lurked. His name was Raman Raghav, and between 1965 and 1968, he became India's one of the most chilling serial killers. He grew up in a silent home. He was always inside his head. At first, it was pretty harmless. He would hear faint murmur, but over the years, the whisper turned into conversations. And the worst part, he thought that these voices were protecting him. He believed they warned him about the people who wanted to hurt him. A shopkeeper who stayed too long, a neighbor who walked past him too quietly. Even his own friends and family, he started seeing them all as threat. But the moment everything snapped was the night he walked home alone. He saw a silhouette across the street. The voices screamed that the man was following him and he might have a knife, so he needed to act first. And that's exactly when his crime began. He started small, vandalizing a man's shop because the voices told him to. He broke into an old co-worker's apartment. He even slashed the tires of someone he barely knew. But one night he had to confront a stranger who walked too close to him. He didn't kill him, but he attacked him hard enough to leave a scar for life. The stranger later said that he did not see him until the moment he was hit. To him, though, it made perfect sense. He believed that he was stopping danger. During Raghav's crime saga, he targeted the most vulnerable people who were asleep in slums, on the roadside, or outside their own tiny house. His method was brutally simple. He used a blunt iron rod or heavy stones, striking his victims when they were unconscious or defenseless. At first, the murder seemed random, but by 1966, the police saw a pattern: the same type of victim, the same nighttime attack, the same signature of violence. As fear swept through Bombay, people stopped sleeping outside. Communities stayed awake in groups. Still, the killings continued. Raghav moved like a shadow, unpredictable, silent, and pretty much quite unstoppable. By 1968, Mumbai police launched one of their biggest manhunts. When Raghav was finally captured, he didn't run, he did not panic, he didn't even deny anything. But he groomed himself, combed his hair, had lunch, and confessed every single crime he did. He described every brutal murder as if he were talking about his daily life. A psychiatric evaluation revealed what police already suspected. Raman Raghav suffered from chronic paranoid schizophrenia. The voices were a part of his illness, but what about the consequences? He told police that these voices ordered him to kill, that he had been chosen for a mission, and he wasn't actually committing any crime. He was just following instructions. To him, these hallucinations were real. They guided him, controlled him, and justified every ruthless attack. Raghav's sexuality was also one of the most twisted parts of his delusional world. He genuinely believed that people around him were trying to impose homosexual temptation on him, especially women, almost as if they were attempting to convert him into a woman. Obsessed with proving otherwise, he kept insisting he was 100% man, repeating it to the police and in the court. Psychiatrists also claim that the voices warning him of temptation, conversion, and persecution were all symptoms of the illness. Raghav even claimed he was guided by an inner wireless or a higher Kanun, which was beyond normal law, and that obeying this command was necessary for him. He was first sentenced to death, but because of his diagnosis, his punishment was changed. He spent the rest of his life in the psychiatric ward of Vedwada Central Jail, where he died in 1995. People often think the movie version was extreme, but that was nothing, because while the film ends, the real Bombay lived with the terror till today. Thank you. That's my time. I hope you all stay safe out there.